Well, this is a name that I, honestly, have not thought about in a while. Like, yes, it's true, we have brought this guy's name up in the past in various videos, talking about the takes that he has on TVA Sports and others, but it's been a while to go out there and fully acknowledge the player that Antoine Roussel was. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a Canucks fan. We went through a lot together. Us Canucks fans and Mr. Antoine Roussel over here. He was a part of a Vancouver Canucks team that was really not good. But he was a part of a team that had some sort of an interesting identity back in the day. Of course, Roussel, I'm just kind of stalling here, he wasn't very important as a Vancouver Canuck, but he was on the team, and alongside of Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Connor Garland, and a draft pick that inevitably became Dylan Guenther, was a part of one of the most franchise-altering trades that the Vancouver Canucks had ever made, and that will always go down in infamy as one of the most talked about moments in Canucks history, especially when you consider the timeline we are at right now, where the Vancouver Canucks kinda suck, and Quinn Hughes is going to leave. You can debate that the trade in which Mr. Antoine Roussel was a part of was one of the biggest factors as to why everything went that way. But all past Canucks traumas aside, let's go out there and read what JIC analyst Antoine Roussel went out there and had to say about Montreal Canadiens forward Josh Anderson. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to go out there and read this piece yourself. Josh Anderson outnumbered. One sequence bothered Antoine Roussel. This was posted by TVA Sports on their website yesterday. Again, it'll be linked in the description if you want to read it yourself. But let's go out there and see what the thesis here is. The Canadiens have been struggling on the penalty kill since the beginning of November, to such an extent that they now occupy the 25th place in efficiency in the NHL with a success rate of 76.3. Now, that's not particularly great, 76.3% on the PK. TVA Sports hockey analyst Antoine Roussel believes he knows what's wrong. Players are not respecting their assignments, and they aren't positioned correctly on the ice. Starting with Josh Anderson, who demonstrated a weakness in the Canadiens' penalty kill during Wednesday's game against the Utah Mammoth. There's a sequence on yesterday's goal that bothers me. Look at Josh Anderson, how he just keeps spinning around, and then at one point, he never stops. Roussel analyzed at the start of his appearance on JIC on TVA Sports. Anderson is always spinning, and the puck always ends up where it could have been if he had stopped spinning. Sometimes it's not complicated, but put the brakes on and let your teammate do his job. And that's an example that reflects what's been happening for the last 3 games for the Canadiens. I think my family can't stand to hear me yelling at the TV anymore, so I can't even imagine what the coaches think when they see this. Now, just for the record, if we want to review what it is that Roussel is talking about, well, we have to go back over to November 26th, where the Montreal Canadiens played off against the Utah Mammoth, and they won 4-3. Suzuki scored twice, the Canadiens rallied past, they got the victory, and if you take a look at Barrett Hayton's power play goal in the second period, let's see if we can use the Edge goal visualizer here. Pay attention to Mr. 17, Josh Anderson, because he will be on the screen right there. He is on the top of the circle there, and the Utah Mammoth are able to cycle the puck around. Eventually, Anderson is caught a little bit on the side, and the shot comes from Barrett Hayton. This is exactly what Antoine Roussel is talking about, that he's always spinning, he's always going, and with a little bit more patience and a little bit more just stagnation, he will inevitably let the puck come to him. The reason Utah is able to rotate so effectively is because Josh Anderson in particular is one of these guys that just keeps on chasing, keeps on going. He plays with tremendous pace, which is obviously appreciated, but in situations like the PK, it's being noted as a hamartia of what this team is exhibiting. Let's go out there and read the rest of the article here. Anderson has been playing on the PK for the past 2 years. However, he is getting his first shift this season following the departures of Dvorak and Armia. According to Roussel, he absolutely must get back on track in this aspect of the game to justify his high salary. That player needs a role, because if you take him off the PK, his only use will be to hit and to bring intensity. Given his relatively high salary, you have to expect more from Anderson. It's up to him to pull himself together because the status quo isn't working, Roussel added. There needs to be some serious introspection at this level, because that is where the mistake lies. And those are some pretty harsh words from a guy in Antoine Roussel whom, I'm not gonna lie, I do remember moments of him on the PK at some point. He wasn't the best at it, but it's really interesting because, oddly enough, I see a lot of Antoine Roussel's game in Josh Anderson's game. They both play a very no-nonsense, pace and effort-related style that doesn't necessarily translate to the most effective numbers, but they play in such a way where you always notice them. Every shift, they're always going, they're always forechecking hard, they can body check too. Antoine Roussel was quite nefarious for that because he was so physically intense, and even though he had 31 points in 65 games in his first season with the Vancouver Canucks, this was a guy who, unfortunately, just didn't really provide much value outside of that year, when you exclude his pace and the intensity that he played with. Now, sure, there were a lot of folks, myself included, that actually liked what Antoine Roussel provided, but following his injury after that 30-point season, he just wasn't really the same player anymore, and that's why he was in the AHL for a little bit as well. It was kind of an unfortunate downfall for Antoine Roussel in the Vancouver organization. And then he got traded to Arizona in the infamous Beagle-Eriksson-Roussel trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland. Josh Anderson, on the other hand, is making $5.5 million a year. Now, sure, that's not the most expensive dollar amount in the world, but for a guy who is technically a fourth liner, if you wanted to say that, yeah, you can probably say he needs to provide a little bit more value than just a bottom six play. Josh Anderson this season has 8 points in 23 games. He is on pace for about 29 points, which is roughly where he was at last year. If he gets up to 20 goals, then I think that'd be a pretty good benchmark for him. He hasn't hit that since 2023. That season, he was also at under half a point a game. So obviously, Anderson, he's never going to replicate that 47-point campaign he had in Columbus when he got traded for Max Domi. So obviously, things need to shift a little bit value-wise for this player. But at the end of the day, you know, Montreal's PK, as bad as it is this season, Anderson has only been a part of it lately. So if this continues to be an issue that Canadiens fans will point out and talk about, I do question whether or not Antoine Roussel's commentary will reign supreme. But I guess I can leave you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about that very topic. Do you think Mr. Antoine Roussel's commentary on Anderson is accurate? Do you think it's the right way to go about it? And do you think these changes are necessary in the way Anderson attacks penalty-killing shifts? The article will be linked in the description if you want to go out there and read it yourself. Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.